This is News 4 In Depth.
Cracking down on crime in San Antonio.
I'll see a neighbor and they're like, yep, my truck got stolen. And this is the second one of their vehicle being stolen.
What's being done to keep our community safe?
There's a distinction between a hotspot and random acts that are occurring in a particular area.
We're digging deeper and holding law enforcement and leaders accountable.
And some kids, you have to be honest with. If you continue this lifestyle, you will not make it after 25th birthday.
News 4 goes in depth on the latest trends to combat crime, what's working, and where there's cause for concern.
And we'll get to that in just a moment, but first an update on a breaking story that we've been following for you all day. The Bexar County Sheriff says 26 migrants are lucky to be alive after they were found dehydrated at a stash house in South Bexar County with little ventilation and no water. News 4 San Antonio's Jordan Elder has been out at the scene for hours now. Jordan, what did deputies find during this bust?
Well, Jonathan, the sheriff says this was a dangerous situation all around. From the trailer the migrants were stashed in to this stash house on the property that they were kept in. There was little ventilation, no water, and it is blazing hot out here. BCSO surveillance showed 26 migrants being pulled out from a hidden compartment under a gooseneck trailer and then stashed in a shack on this property. Just by looking at that trailer, though, you would have no idea the compartment was even there. 11 migrants had to be taken to the hospital for dehydration, and then 7 people believed to be the smugglers were taken into custody. Deputies also found several weapons and body armor inside that house, which they say is typical in these human smuggling operations. And then again, 7 people taken into custody, and they believe that those are the smugglers.
This is the fault of the cartels that put these people at risk. There's really, with the way the system is now, there's no reason for these folks to have been to be smuggled across. Now, with that being said, I was just talking to some of my deputies. We don't yet know if these people came over the border this morning or if they were already here in a stash house in another part of the state on this side of the border. We don't know if they were smuggled across against their will. We just don't know at this point.
A lot of questions still to be answered there. We asked the sheriff how often they're seeing situations like this in the county. He told us this is the first large one that we've seen in a while, but that doesn't mean that they aren't happening. He pointed to the new executive order as a potential solution for some of this, saying it creates rewards if you report smuggling. Now, we know from the truck tragedy in June of 2022 that typically federal investigators might come in and take over from here, interviewing those migrants about where they came from, how much they might have paid to be here, and then what comes next in this federal investigation now. Reporting live in South Bexar County, I'm Jordan Elder.
Well, welcome to News 4 San Antonio In Depth. I'm Jonathan Martinez.
I'm Mandy Noel, and we are here tonight taking a deep dive into cracking down on crime in San Antonio. Welcome to the assignment desk. This is the lungs of the newsroom, the eyes and ears. Our assignment desk workers are listening to scanners. Our web team, our producers and reporters are all around the newsroom. Behind me, especially this area right behind me, is where the scanners are located. This is where we hear the calls from police, and we don't report any of that, but it gives us an idea of where we need to head out to when there is something going on. For example, that human smuggling ring that we just told you about. We heard about it here first on the newsroom scanners. So Jonathan, with a little more about how this is where most of what we do gets started, I'm going to send it back down to you.
All right, Mandy, thank you for that perspective. Now, we have dug into the crime data from the San Antonio Police Department, and although criminal cases do remain higher than pre-pandemic levels, well, the number of cases in 24 are actually down from 2023. Now, take a look at the stats on key criminal cases comparing January through April of 2024 with the same time in 23. Homicides are down to 48. It was at 59 last year. Assaults are still high at more than 9,700, but they are down about 3% compared to last year. Robberies also down 3% in 2024 with roughly 586. And finally, thefts also down slightly at just under 17,000 this year. Now, that terrifying scene was just last week in a West Bexar County neighborhood. 3 men firing nearly 80 rounds at a home off of Carnes Way near Alamo Parkway. Thankfully, no one was hurt or killed in that one. Still, the shooting does have neighbors in that particular area on edge. The Bexar County Sheriff tells us they do have persons of interest in this case, and they don't believe that this is a random act.
I mean, it's highly likely when you've got a situation like that where three possibly young suspects are shooting at a house like that. It's almost a certainty that it's either going to be gang related, drug related, or both.
Now, the sheriff's office has previously put a mobile substation in the Alamo Ranch area. They also tell us they've beefed up patrols following this latest incident. Now, the sheriff says there is no connection between a shooting last month on the northeast side, in which a house was also shot up. That house also believed to be targeted, and that one sadly leaving a 4-year-old dead. Authorities are exploring all leads as to why this home was shot at, including a possible gang connection.
A recent deadly shooting in the heart of downtown pushed us to question police if they plan to increase patrols in the area. 80-year-old Heidi Silkworth was visiting San Antonio for a graduation. She was driving down East Cesar Chavez Boulevard near Hemisphere Park when police say a gunfight between two groups of teens broke out. Silkworth was shot in the head and died. Police say they have no plans to add patrols in the area because this was an isolated incident.
But there's a distinction between a hotspot and random acts that are occurring in a particular area. There's nothing organized about these offenses that happened. If we had an organized group of individuals who were shooting it out on a regular basis, that changes the dynamic of it.
In this case, police say 9 people were questioned, but at last check, no arrests were made. Crimes committed by the youngest offenders may shock you. Documents show more than 24 teenagers at the Bexar County Jail are waiting to be tried as adults.
The News 4i team's Jordan Elder digging deeper tonight and taking a closer look at just how many teens are being tried as adults right here in Bexar County.
Yeah, we got a front flat tire. Both tires are flat.
A cross-county chase all the way to Seguin.
Hey!
When deputies finally got this truck pulled over, it was full of teenagers.
Do not face me. Face away. Walk back towards me.
And if you thought there'd be remorse,
You.
deputies say there was none.
It's become pretty commonplace.
The sheriff says this is a concerning trend.
Get on the ground.
Younger offenders committing higher crimes. This is 17-year-old John Doerr, booked as an adult for first-degree murder. Sheriff Javier Salazar says he and other teens set up a drug deal on the northeast side. But that's not what they were really plotting.
Instead, they were going to be robbing the victim of money, is what it looks like.
Salazar says Doerr shot another teen in the face and then left him lying in the street. Doerr is now in custody here, along with 32 other teens, a group Sheriff Salazar calls youthful offenders.
Those that have been certified to stand trial as adults.
We obtained this breakdown of who's serving time and for what. They're all under 18 years old, in for murder, evading arrest, and serious assaults. One teen on this list is charged with 32 counts of aggravated robbery.
They're going to be there for the more particularly heinous or violent crimes.
Even though these teens are kept entirely separate from the true adults in jail, they'll face the same punishments in the courtroom. Judge Cruz Shaw had to certify several of these offenders as adults.
And some kids you have to be honest with. If you continue this lifestyle, you will not make it past your 25th birthday. That's our goal in juvenile. Keep these kids alive, keep them out of the adult system.
The sheriff says it's important to know where your kids are and who they're with because things can escalate quickly. Theft, vaping, and drugs could all lead to more.
Where parents may say, well, it's just harmless fun, they're just doing these minor drugs. Well, a lot of those quote-unquote minor drugs have led to some of the more high-profile shootings that we've handled.
And even if you don't have kids, officials say one of the best things you can do is keep your gun somewhere safe so it doesn't end up being used in these crimes.
Kids are breaking into homes and they're breaking into cars. If a gun's there, now it's in someone else's hands.
Shaw and Salazar say it's important to address these things early on because if teens end up here once, the odds of coming back are high.
I don't want to see it happen. We don't wish it on anybody. But the facts are, at some point, they're most likely going to end up getting caught up in that system.
For the News 4i team, I'm Jordan Elder.
School may be out for the summer, but safety is the top priority for local districts. School safety was a big topic at a recent Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD school board meeting. This comes after 3 separate incidents late last month involving students bringing a weapon onto campus. All 3 students were caught and faced criminal charges. During the meeting, trustees heard from a volunteer with a campaign called Be Smart, which promotes responsible gun ownership and secure gun storage. The goal to minimize the risk that minors get access to weapons.
Well, people are breaking into cars all across San Antonio, and News 4 San Antonio's Jordan Elder has created a new resource with all the hot spots for all the crime. Take a look. That is a map there. It shows the vehicle break-ins across our area, and 78216 is the zip code with the most by far, many of them in and around North Star Mall. Now, that map is interactive, so you can click on your neighborhood to check out your neighborhood. You can find that resource right now on our website, news4sa.com. Now, thieves aren't just breaking into cars, they are also stealing them altogether. And nationally, the number of stolen cars, it's on the rise. Here in San Antonio, so far this year, those numbers are on the decline, though. The latest data from SAPD shows about 6,400 have been reported stolen this year. That's compared to more than 76,000 during the same time last year. The number was much lower by this time in 2022. Now, there are new efforts, though, to help victims of car thefts right here in San Antonio. News 4 San Antonio's Stephanie Esquivel explains.
We rely on our cars to get around, so we want to do everything we can to keep it from becoming an easy target. Now, police have an additional resource to get your car back if it is stolen. The San Antonio Police Department Auto Crimes Task Force just received $1.5 million grant. Some of that money will go toward finding crime rings and targeting the people breaking into cars. Last year, they received similar funding that led to recovering more than 1,500 stolen vehicles and leading to more than 500 arrests. Police say car theft is a crime of opportunity, making any of us vulnerable. They tell me your biggest offense is a wheel lock, which usually costs around $30. Back to you.
People who live in the La Cantera area in far northwest San Antonio report a spike in crime in their neighborhoods.
Broken in windshields, like it'll be 2 or 3 trucks at the same time, or missing vehicles. Like I'll see a neighbor and they're like, yep, my truck got stolen. And this is the second one of their vehicle being stolen.
Data shows the number of car break-ins this year at La Cantera and the Rim are down compared to the same time frame last year. The number of stolen cars from the Rim has increased this year compared to last. San Antonio police urge anyone to call the non-emergency number anytime you see something that looks suspicious. Just last month, police shot and killed a man off La Cantera Terrace. Police say 2 officers opened fire on the man after they say he drove the car, which was believed to be stolen, straight at them.
Well, a little after a year since rolling out a plan to tackle violent crime, San Antonio Police giving us an update on how its hotspot policing is working out. The plan uses a methodical approach at decreasing crime by strategically placing officers in hotspot locations. The data by UTSA researchers showing that citywide trends of violent crimes have decreased in nearly every category. The police chief says one possible reason, higher arrest rates.
There's been more time spent in jail pre-trial. So if folks are not getting back out on the street after we arrest them right away, if they're spending some time in jail, that's going to reduce the numbers.
Phase 2 will be implemented next and will add an oversight board to monitor all the hotspot location trends and allow more community feedback.
You might notice some new features at stores and shopping centers across San Antonio. Automatic license plate readers. The devices take pictures of your license plate, and you probably don't even notice it's happening. They are at the shops at La Cantera, but they're popping up at stores all over the city. This is how they work. The cameras capture a license plate of every car that comes and goes, but only a few are flagged. If your car is associated with previous thefts, a missing person, or other alerts, security is notified. The goal is to catch retail thieves or other criminals before they get in the doors.
Welcome back. All day on News4sa.com, we've been asking you the question, do you think law enforcement is doing enough to crack down on crime? And this right here is a look at the live results. Overwhelming 73% say no. You can scan the QR code right now to also weigh in.
From cell phones to doorbell cameras, it seems everything is recorded today, even porch pirates, like you see in this video. But using that video for evidence in a crime is not as easy as you may think. Amazon has a policy that does not allow police to request doorbell camera video from residents. That means public safety agencies like fire, police can no longer request footage through Ring's Neighbors app. But if the video is necessary, there's a way for law enforcement to get it.
Amazon has changed their protocol and will now require either a search warrant or exigent circumstances or an emergency situation. You know, you can always voluntarily waive any constitutional right.
We asked San Antonio Police, which says this does not have a big impact on how it investigates crimes. Police sent us this statement. If a video is needed for an investigation, the owner of the video typically releases it to our detectives. Otherwise, our practice is to get a warrant for the evidence.
This is News 4 San Antonio at 6:30.
26 victims, 11 transported to the hospital, 7 in custody that we believe are coyotes, clearly cartel related. And this is the fault of the bloodthirsty organizations that are bringing these people across and putting them in harm's way.
We continue following breaking news from far south Bexar County. Sheriff Javier Salazar tells us things could have ended very badly as deputies investigate a human smuggling operation. Good evening and welcome to News 4 San Antonio at 6:30. I'm Mandy Noel.
I'm Jonathan Martinez. This is a scene this afternoon along Loop 1604 and Oak Island Drive. The sheriff says they were alerted of this operation and kept their eyes on a gooseneck truck that was used to smuggle allegedly 26 migrants. Authorities say the migrants were being transported from Laredo and were traveling inside the truck on top of hard mesh for nearly 3 hours. The sheriff's office busted the operation as they were being unloaded into the shack on the far south side of the property.
It's miserable conditions there, and it's just blazing hot in there. So, just fortunately, we were able to get these people before any of them passed as a result.
Now we're being told a total of 12 migrants were transported to the hospital for heat-related injuries. None of them, though, believed to be life-threatening.
And this was the view from your South Texas Ford dealer's Sky 4 earlier today. Several agencies, including U.S. Border Patrol, responded to the scene. Deputies say they also found several bulletproof vests and long rifles on the property, calling the operation clearly cartel-related.
This is the fault of the cartels that put these people at risk. There's really, with the way the system is now, there's no reason for these folks to have been, to be smuggled across. Now, with that being said, I was just talking to some of my deputies. We don't yet know if these people came over the border this morning or if they were already here in a stash house in another part of the state on this side of the border. We don't know if they were smuggled across against their will. We just don't know at this point.
He did say some of them said they've been in the vehicle for 3 hours or so. Now, deputies, as we mentioned, have detained 7 people believed to be involved in the smuggling operation. The sheriff says that number could change as it's common for smugglers to try and blend in with victims when they're caught. The other 19 migrants were taken in for questioning. For more on this human smuggling bust, let's go straight to Melissa Vega at the live desk monitoring the latest developments.
Well, as we continue to follow the very latest for you here on this human smuggling operation, we're also following reaction, including from Mayor Ron Nirenberg, taking to social media just a short time ago to say that he is extremely grateful for our local first responders, both city and county, and their coordination throughout these efforts, adding our hearts ache for the victims of this operation. He goes on to say this is an unfortunate consequence of Congress insisting on an under-resourced border while ignoring humane immigration reforms and the concerns of impacted communities. And University Health also giving a status update on the migrants, saying that right now 12 patients are being cared for at University Hospital. We're also learning more. All patients, they say, are 18 and older, and they include both men and women. They are in good or fair condition at this time. Of course, we will continue to follow the very latest.
Well, in consumer news tonight, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen issuing a warning to bankers about the use of artificial intelligence in the financial system.
Atra El-Nashar has a closer look at the dangers of AI in the financial sector.
Artificial intelligence has quickly emerged as a top concern for federal officials tasked with ensuring the stability of America's financial system.
This is a rapidly evolving field. We have our work cut out for us.
Meeting Thursday with public and private sector leaders, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen acknowledged the difficulty in balancing AI's potential for innovation with its ability to do great harm. AI has already ushered in efficient ways to detect fraud and generate answers for chatbots. But Yellen and others warned the more AI is embedded in the financial system, the higher the risk it could backfire. It could be used to deploy scams and manipulate markets with misinformation.
Insufficient or faulty data could also perpetuate or introduce new biases in financial decision-making.
Federal regulation is far behind, and many banks are not prepared to mitigate these risks. JP Morgan Chase started using AI more than a decade ago. Today, the company has more than 2,000 AI or machine learning experts. CEO Jamie Dimon says the technology could be as transformative as electricity.
So like right now, you go on your phone and you can move money and buy stocks. That wasn't true 20 years ago. So yes, everything you do will change because of technology.
Like any other sector exposed to AI, there's the risk of actual people becoming obsolete. In his annual letter to shareholders, Diamond says our use of AI has the potential to augment virtually every job.
Here in Congress, lawmakers are fully aware of these risks. They hear about them from experts all the time, but even they can admit they don't have much of a track record when it comes to keeping up with tech issues.
How do we not screw it up? So I think we have to be humble, modest enough to realize getting from, yes, we ought to have guardrails, to how we write those in a way that we could actually legislate is going to be a huge challenge.
That was back in September, and Congress is no closer to taking action, while AI technology gets more advanced each day. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.